So just a little bit of introduction. When everyone first started learning, let's say, programming language, in my case, it was C, and I also had R, not even C++. Okay, I think it was the harder thing to get, and I also remember feeling confused and frustrated along the way. And to be honest, well, let's see if this is, of course, this is not your first time learning a programming language, but anyway, learning something new, you will have those moments when you're going to feel a little bit frustrated, a little bit lost, maybe. Okay, so I would like to tell you to stick through it. Okay, just like learning any language, any human language. Okay, with enough time in practice, you can become fluent. Okay. So now, unlike any human language, you don't have to remember as many words as possible and, let's say, sentence structure. And you'll have to just understand the syntax and probably remember some keywords. Okay. Anyway, so programming, as you know, is the act of constructing a program. So it's a set of precise instructions telling a computer what to do. Okay. And because computers are kind of dumb, okay, so they're kind of pedantic beasts, programming is fundamentally tedious and frustrating usually. Okay. And now let's talk about one of the main languages in web programming, at least in front-end programming, is JavaScript. JavaScript was created in 1995 by Netscape. Okay. It was a way for them to add actions to websites. Okay. And Netscape at that time was a kind of a probably a company, or let's say software organization or something, and they had their own browser at that time. Okay. So you can think of JavaScript as the verb in anything you do on a website. Okay, let's say you tweet, you play a YouTube video, you sign up, you sign in. So basically, any action you do is actually related to JavaScript. Okay? And I would not dive deep into the history, okay? But there is one point you need to know. There was a time when different browsers implemented JavaScript in kind of various ways. So the community thought that they need to create kind of a standard, okay? And it resulted in ECMAScript. ECMAScript is a general purpose programming language based on JavaScript, okay? Which was kind of standardized by ECMA International to ensure the interoperability of web pages across different browsers. So if you go to Google and if you check ECMAScript, well, it will be related to JavaScript. So ECMAScript and JavaScript is used interchangeably most of the time. Okay. So now, if we know something about HTML and CSS, so we use it to, for example, structure our website, and CSS we use to design it, or let's say to give it an appearance. Okay. JavaScript is we use JavaScript to make it functional. So we add functions with JavaScript. Okay. And JavaScript is actually evolving. So meaning that, let's say 20 years ago, we had JavaScript, let's say version 1, which wasn't that powerful at that time. Now, of course, JavaScript is, well, let's say it's been updated, of course, and we have new features currently. And let me show you what we can do with JavaScript. Okay, so one moment, please. So what we can do with JavaScript? JavaScript we can do a 3D library. Okay, so if you go to JavaScript 3D library. It's called 3.js, okay? And it allows you to create some of the cool things you can find on websites. Okay, let's say, for example, this Inkbots 3D comic. Okay, you see how it's loading, and I hope it's going to work as well, but let me do something else. And so it takes this one, it takes some time, this one as well. So of course, those scripts are very heavy, so it takes some time to get them to load them. But let's see. Okay, so you can see this is a real-time 3D comic that updates often. Okay, and if you like to read something here, you can try it. What else? We have this one, takes some time. Those are the 3D libraries that you can do with JavaScript. Other things like, let's go to GitHub actually. And on the homepage of GitHub, here, you have this globus, okay, that actually connects, that have dots that are connected, okay. And this is also done with 3D library in JavaScript, okay. Other things we also have, for example, Instagram, Facebook, I don't know what else we have, Telegram. Most of them are written in JavaScript, okay? So at least their front part is written in JavaScript. What else we can do? We can actually also do some programming, like robotics with JavaScript. So if you go to YouTube, okay, and one moment, I have it. Okay, so for example, NodeBots. So this library allows you to program robots with JavaScript. Okay? And probably you need to also to additional settings like hardware using Arduino. But as you can see, JavaScript can be used in many ways. Okay, but mostly, of course, it is used in web programming in front end. But currently, we also have JavaScript for backend, and we are going to talk about JavaScript for backend as well. Okay, so there are many ways where you can find. There are many places where you can find JavaScript. Okay. Anyway, what is JavaScript? JavaScript basically. So let me share the presentation back. So basically, JavaScript is a simple file that contains instructions for your browsers. Okay, something like if I press this button, that should happen, and move that item to that place, and other things. So basically, actions that you see on your website are written in JavaScript. Okay, and JavaScript is very, let's say, straightforward. So you give a logic, let's say an algorithm, okay, and it does actions. That's it. Okay, so that's a little bit of history, a little bit of presentation. Okay, let's not stop here and let's dive in. So we're going to finally do some programming. Okay. So what I want you to do, actually, I want you to open your web browser, any of your web browsers. This is my web browser, Google Chrome. Okay, so what I can do here, how can I write my JavaScript? Okay, to write JavaScript, you can use any browser's console, and you can find it here. So you open more tools, you go to developer tools, at least in Google Chrome, and we have elements here where we can check our HTML and CSS, but in console we check and we do our scripting, we do our programming. Okay, and yeah, this is our actually working environment. So we don't need Visual Studio Code. We don't need those IDs and other things. So we can do everything in browser, at least now. Of course, if you need to write the big code, you will need a Visual Studio Code or something. Okay. Anyway, so let us do things. So the first one I would like to show you is that, well, as any other programming language, you can do basic math in JavaScript. So if I type down, let's say 1 + 1, it gives me 2, right? So it's pretty straightforward. 1 - 1 gives me 0. 1 multiplied by 5 gives me 5. 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. All of these operators, I think you know, right? Plus, minus, star for multiply, and slash for divide. And also the last one is this one. 4 divided. Oops. So what's this sign means and why it gives us 0? Yes, it's a reminder. Okay, so it means if we divide 4 by 2, what would be the remainder? And of course, if you do 4 divided by 2 is actually 2, so there is no remainder, right? What else? Other basics operations you can find in JavaScript is parentheses. So if you have 2 + 2 multiplied by 2, of course, it will give you 8. It will not give you 6, right? So the basic logic of math is also implemented in JavaScript. What else? Let me see. Yeah, that's basically it. So, and I think I don't need to explain them how math works in JavaScript. Okay, so you can figure out this, and you will need those operations for your assignment. Okay, because your assignment will be related to calculations. Okay, so we'll see. And what else we can do? In JavaScript, we don't have many types, data types. Okay, so we have numbers, int, we have float numbers. So something like 4.5 divided by 4.5, right? So those are the float numbers. I hope you know them. What else we have? We also have strings. Okay, so we have, let's say, hello. Hello is a string, right? And we have booleans, so true and false. And also we have if statements, but it's something else, right? And we also have variables. Let's say a is equal to 2, a divided by 2 gives us 1. So you know these things, right? So once again, we have basically 4 main data types in JavaScript: number, string, boolean, and what was it? And float numbers, right? But also we have arrays, but we are going to talk about arrays later. Okay. Anyway, so let's move on. What we can do with strings. Okay. In JavaScript, the main difference between JavaScript and Java probably is that you can do following operations with strings. Okay. So if you say, let's say hello, and then you say plus, let's say Mulder. Okay. And if you type it like this, it will give you hello Mulder. Okay, so it doesn't give us error, so you can basically what was that? Concatenate, right? So join basically 2 strings together. Okay. What else? What do you think will happen if I do something like minus? Not bad. No, it gives us none. Okay, so it doesn't work for any other operator, only plus. Plus in JavaScript, if you're working with strings, means join them together. Okay, concatenate. Other things like divide, multiply will not give us anything. The next thing is you can write your numbers as strings, right? So we have 2, but 2 is not a number here, is a string. So if I type down 2 + 2, what do you think it will give us? It gives us 22, right? Because it takes one string, second string, and it joins it together. Okay, it doesn't sum them up. Okay, but what do you think will happen if I say 2 - 2? Like this. No, it gives a 0. So it understands at some point, okay, it understands that probably we cannot we cannot just extract, or sorry, we cannot deduct one string from another. So probably those are numbers. So it automatically transforms them to numbers, integers, and then does the deduction. What else we have? 2 multiplied by 2 gives us 4, and 2 divided by 2, yes, it gives us 1. Okay, so it works fine completely. And what else we can do? So I don't know whether it was in Java, but let me ask you, how do you write strings in Java? You use quotation marks, right? What kind of quotation marks do you use in Java? I have single quotation and double quotation marks, right? Single. In JavaScript, you can also use single quotation marks if you wish. That's fine. Okay. But what's the difference between double and single quotation marks? The problem is that, let's say you have something like it's my world. Okay. So if you would like to type something like this, it's my world, it will give you unexpected identifier. Okay. So in order for us to put this, what is it called? Apostrophes, right? Or something. Okay. In order for us to basically shorten English words, we need to probably use double quotation marks. Okay. And inside of double quotation marks, you can have your single one. Okay. That's fine. Those are the basic things. Let's move on. So we're going to go very quickly on this one because you can see that most of the programming languages are very similar to each other. Okay. So what else we have? We have true and false. How it works? So let's say 3 is greater than 2, gives you true. Right? 3 is greater than 3, gives you false. That's correct, right? 3 is less than 5, true. 3 is less than, let's say, 2, false. Those things are very basic. What else we have? What kind of operators do we have as well? Yes, we have greater than or equal. So this one gives us true, and this one gives us false because 3 is not either equal or greater than 4. Those things are correct. What else we have? That's equal means. So if I try to say 3 is equal to 3, gives me error. What's wrong? Yes, so we use a single equal sign to assign variables. In order for us to check their identities, we need to say equal, right? So double equal signs. In JavaScript, we also have 3 equal signs. Do you know anything about this difference between double equal signs and 3 equal signs? The difference is that it not only compares the values, but it also compares data types. So you can see, if I compare 3 as a string with a 3 as a number, it will give me true because values are the same. So it says so true. But if I say 3 and then I use 3 equal signs, okay, and I compare it with the number 3, it will give me false. Why? Because even though the value is the same, 3, but the first one is as a string and the second one is an integer. So data types are not matching. And this is where JavaScript gives you error. Okay. What else we have? Other Boolean operators, anyone? Not equal, right? So 3 is not equal. 3 gives us false because that's not true, or that's not false, that's true. The same thing happens here, okay? So if we say 3 is not equal 3 as a string, it gives us false because it thinks of the values, right? So the values are actually equal to each other. But if we say 3 is not equal 3 as a string, it gives us true, okay? Because even though values are the same, both of them are 3, but this here we have a string and here we have integer. So moving on. So where do we usually use true and false values? Any ideas? Oh, by the way, do you know this table from your discrete math? True, false values. Oh, God, thank you. Because when I explained it to IT, they had their mind blown, blown up. So thanks, you know, Java and C++. Okay. The next thing we're going to talk about is assignments. Okay. So how do you assign variables in JavaScript? As any other language, you just say A is equal to, well, in my case, it was 2, right? So now if I check what is my A, it is equal to 2, right? And B is equal to 2 as well. So A is equal to B. Oops. Gives us true, right? So everything is fine. What about assignments in JavaScript? You just need to remember that you cannot start with number. So you can say A1 is equal to B, let's say 25. It gives you error, okay? Because you cannot start with a number or you cannot start with a special character. So special characters are, I think, these things, this one, and other things as well. They're done. Anyway, so you cannot start with a number or a special character. What else we have? So reassigning values. So let's say I set my A to be equal 3 now. So if you check A is equal 3, then you can reassign it. So let's say if A is greater than 2, then let's say A should be equal to 5 now. So we are incrementing it. Okay. And now if we check A is equal to 5, right? So the basic logic is the same. So if this one is true, which is in our case true, then we need to reassign it. And you can reassign it in other ways as well. So you don't need to specifically write A is equal to, is greater than something, right? So you can say simply A is equal to 7, and now A is 7. So reassigning is the same as any other language. What else we have? We have something that is called inbuilt functions. So we're going to talk about functions later, but I think you also know them. So in Java, in C++, you had those inbuilt functions, right? The one that is written for you. Okay. For example, in JavaScript, you need to import library, let's say math, so that you can use math.p, math.sum, math.mean, and those different functions, right, to calculate values. For example, к примеру, вам нужно было вычислить среднестатистическое, к примеру, из 5 чисел, да? Какую функцию использовали? Мы могли, в принципе, сказать, там, первое число плюс второе, плюс третье, плюс четвертое, плюс пятое, делить на 5, да, правильно же? Average, да, то есть mean value вы делаете. Но, допустим, у вас было бы 1000 таких значений, или там вы не знаете, какое определенное количество. Вы же не будете все время складывать. Например, в Java есть библиотеки для этого. То есть, например, вы берете библиотеку math, она называется, и оттуда, получается, используете уже готовую функцию для вас, pre-built его, inbuilt function, называется min, получается math.min. В Java вот так, кажется, напишется. math.min, если я не ошибаюсь. По крайней мере, могу ошибаться, точно не знаю. В принципе, как вы могли заметить, в JavaScript we also have some inbuilt functions or inbuilt values. For example, if I say math and then I say p, it will give me my p number. So I don't need to always write 3.14. So I can multiply, let's say, 2 multiplied by math p-value, okay? And it will give me double p, okay? Something like this. So we have those predefined libraries, predefined functions, and one of the predefined functions is called prompt. Okay. Prompt ask for a message. Okay. So it's a pop-up window that you can see here. Let's say, how are you? So it's an embedded page. Okay. It's an embedded pop-up that pops up, and here you can write your response, for example. So or value. Let's say I'm okay, and it will be printed here. What you can do with this one? Well, you can use variables to save it. So for example, if I say b is equal to prompt, how old are you? Okay. And then if I say, let's say my age is 26. Okay. So then later, if I say what is b, it's going to save those this variable, or this value, sorry, 26. And you can see it's saved as a string. So probably we need to then transform it. But anyway, so prompt is for users input. We use this window. Sometimes, well, it's not, at least now, it's not that widely used, but you can find application for this one. So just showing you. What else we have? We have alert, and it prints out just a message. And this one is used more than prompt. Okay. So sometimes when you have an error, or let's say some website would like to pay your attention, so would like to catch your attention, they usually have those alerts functions. So they say alert something hello, or they give you, let's say, advertisement or something. Okay. Yeah, that's what we have in JavaScript as well. And how do you structure JavaScript? Okay, so up until now, I've been working with only one line of code, right? So how do you separate it? In JavaScript, you need to write, oh, sorry, in Java, what you need to do at the end of any expression. Semicolon, right? So you need to put semicolon. In JavaScript as well. So if you would like to finish your expression, you need to put semicolon at the end. The same thing. So if you say A is equal to, and I would like to have another expression, let's say A is equal to A plus 1. Now if I execute it, okay, it gives me 3, because first I assign it with 2, and then I say 2 plus 1 will give me 3. So I use semicolons to define, to put the difference between my first expression and my second expression, right? And those are the programming expressions. So one small piece of logic. Okay. And probably the last thing is so if you have, let's say, a variable which is not defined, you will get an error. But sometimes you can get also undefined variables, right? So for example, if I say p is equal to empty string, so it gives us empty string, right? So what's the difference between, let's say, empty string, for example, in this case, and undefined, like from Java or C++? Получается, есть же два состояния, правильно? У переменных, получается. Когда вы сохраняли переменные в Java, вам объясняли, как это происходит в компьютере? То есть куда это идет переменная, где она сохраняется. Ссылки, да, в C++, например, или в C. Ну, допустим, давайте к Java больше пойдемте. Вот вы сохраняете какую-то переменную. Куда она идет? То есть, когда вы, допустим, у вас есть переменная a, да, она равна 2. Что происходит с этой переменной в памяти вашего компьютера или, допустим, вашего приложения? Когда a получается, она просто так, ну, где-то должна сохраняться, правильно? Она у вас имеется как какое понятие, как таблица такая. Memory называется просто. Допустим, для нас на memory, извините, просто не пишет. Вот у вас такая таблица будет, memory, и вот в ней в ячейках получается. Много ячеек в зависимости от, допустим, от выделенной памяти, либо в зависимости от мощности вашего компьютера, либо вашего девайса, получается. Вот этот memory будет разный, размер его. Но в целом, чтобы сохранить, например, переменную, вам достаточно будет там, 1 килобайта, например. И вот ваши переменные, они сохраняются в этой, получается, части. Потом, когда вы, например, захотите переписать ее, например, и готовите, напишите 3, она не создаст новую, она не займет новый килобайт памяти, получается. Она просто перепишет тот, который имеется. Бывает такое, то, что мы, например, хотим сохранить память, или, let's say we would like to save memory for later. Okay? So we would like to say A is equal to undefined. So we save it as undefined. So by default, it's going to take, let's say, 1 kilobyte of memory. By default, it's going to take 1 kilobyte of memory. So we assign it here. We already save it in the memory, but later on we are going to reassign it. Okay. Получается, для чего мы это делаем? Делаем это для того, чтобы на всякий случай, вдруг у вас, например, в какой-то момент времени закончится память, okay, и ваше приложение крашится, потому что, допустим, для какого-то перемены не хватило памяти. Что вы можете сделать? Вы заранее, получается, до того, как например, приложение начнет работать в полную силу, вы заранее, получается, сохраняете место для этой переменной уже в памяти и просто в дальнейшем переписываете его. Это происходит, это делается для вот таких критических, получается, переменных. В какой-то момент вам нужно будут критические переменные и работать с ними. И это хорошо, например, когда у нас есть там гигабайты, получается, памяти и так далее. А допустим, у вас какой-нибудь маленький девайс, да, старый например, телефон какой-то, там память ограничена. Соответственно, там ресурсы ограничены, и, соответственно, вам нужно очень грамотно распоряжаться той памятью, которая у вас имеется. То есть вы не можете разбрасываться там значениями, например, это A, это B, допустим, да? Я так образно говорю. Вы не можете разбрасываться. В условиях сжатого, например, в условиях ограниченных ресурсов это очень важно получается. Я не знаю, почему это, кстати, не объясняли на Java или на C++, потому что Java, например, когда вы пишете приложение, и, допустим, оно будет запускаться на микроконтроллере, там, например, 512 гигабайтов memory, да, и что у вас может произойти? Допустим, ваше приложение в какой-то момент, там будет 3 процесса, P1, P2, P3 будет, да? P1, например, запускается, в какой-то момент работает, например, 100 килобайтов memory забирает, да, в какой-то момент. Потом P2 начинает работать. Тоже, например, 100 килобайтов memory. И так далее. И в какой-то момент, получается, это memory закончится. А ваши процессы, получается, они не закончились. Они до сих пор требуют памяти. И, например, P1, например, в какой-то момент скажет, блин, мне не хватает там 50 килобайтов, чтобы закончить свое существование, то есть, чтобы мне закончить свой процесс. И в какой-то момент вам надо будет грамотно распределять ресурсы, которые у вас имеются. Может быть, в какой-то момент вам надо будет с P2, например, освободить ресурсы. Может быть, P2 должен запускаться после того, как P1 закончится и так далее. Вот эти моменты очень важны, условия сжатых ресурсов. То есть Ну, сейчас для данного курса это не очень важно, потому что мы работаем с большими, ну, с серьезными компьютерами, правильно? Но вообще имейте в виду то, что если в дальнейшем будете иметь дело с микроконтроллерами, вы столкнетесь с тем, что у вас будет ограниченная память, ограниченные ресурсы процессора и так далее. Поэтому еще есть такое понятие, как starving, получается, starvation, то есть это когда вот процессору не хватает памяти. Какие еще были понятия? Понятия как bottlenecks и еще я забыл, с операционной системой тоже это связано. В общем, вот такие вот моменты вам нужно помнить. Так что лишний раз, когда вы, например, сталкиваетесь с тем, что вам нужно будет сохранить память для дальнейших ресурсов, ну, для дальнейшего использования, имеет смысл, может быть, использовать, например, undefined, либо в Java какие-то. Что это было в Java? Там нет undefined, кажется, да? Там есть null, правильно? Null тоже используется для сохранения памяти. Okay, so a little bit of topic, okay? So let's move on. So the next thing is probably control flow. So I would like to tell you about control flow now. So for you is going to be very easy to understand, right? So if and else statements. So just like in any programming language, you have if, in parentheses, you write your condition and expression. So if something, let's say true, then execute this one. If something, let's say in this case false, then what should we do? We should we should go to else if, and we check condition 2. And if condition 2 is also false, then we have the last one, which is condition number, not condition number 3, but expression number 3. So else will be executed only if those two conditions are not satisfied, right? So I think you also remember it from Java courses. So let us see. Let us do these things in JavaScript. So let's say if, just a basic one, if let's say if 1 is greater than 0, then alert correct. Else alert incorrect. So if you execute this one, it gives me correct, right? So, but if I change my condition, and if I say this one, this time it gives me incorrect, right? Because my condition is not satisfied, then it goes to else. And the last thing probably I need to show you is that if is greater, let's say 1, 2 is greater than 2. So this condition is going to be false. Then we have else if. Else if works or it's in the execution order. It comes only if the first one is not satisfied, right? So if we say else if 2 is greater than 1, then alerts true. So it gives me true now. Why? Because this one, it gives us false. So this condition is never executed. Else if 2 is greater than 1, so this condition is true. That's why it gives me true as an alert. Okay. So if we change it, so if we change it here, this one is never being executed, the second expression, because the first one is true. So we print out false, and we stop our execution here because we do not continue. What about logic expressions in JavaScript or in Java? Как мы, получается, обозначаем end? Okay. Great that you remember. Okay. So let's say if 1 is greater than 0 and 2 is greater than 1, then let's hello. So it gives us hello only because two conditions are satisfied. This one is true, this one is true, and we have and. So true and true gives us true. What happens if I change it? So what happens if I say like this? What do you think will happen? Perfect. Yes, it will not show anything because the first one is correct, right? 1 is greater than 0, but 2 is not greater than 3, so it gives us false. And the whole condition is also gives us false because why? We have and here. So I'm not going to draw that table. I think you remember it. So and condition is true only if the first one and the second one is true, right? Otherwise, it's always false. The same with or. Or is always false only if the first one and the second one is false. Okay. If they both true, if one of them true, it will always gives us true. So let's check it out. Do we represent or? Yeah, the same thing. How do we check if it's not? Can I revert this one? So now it gives me false, right? How can I make it true? Without changing value, of course. The last one is not. I think you remember not, right? So not false is true, not true is false. Fine. So let's have a quick break, 5 minutes, and then I think the rest of the lesson will be around also 5-10 minutes, okay? Those are just basics of, yes, hold on. Those are just basics of JavaScript, okay? So let me quickly finish it. Yeah, I told them 5 minutes. So how do we run? The last thing I would like to show you probably is how do you run JavaScript within your HTML? So let's have a look. And so let's say we have our, I'm going to create one. So we have our index.html as usual. And let me create another one. So how do we call JavaScript files? Well, as usual, script.js. Okay. So JS stands for JavaScript. And if you would like to open the Visual Studio, it's going to recognize that the one is so our index.html is usual, that the one that we have. And what do we write in our script.js? Okay, is here we are going to work with selectors as well. So the main logic is that, for example, if you would like to, let's say, make your button to show something, okay, you can use selectors in JavaScript as well. Okay, so I will explain it on Friday during the lecture. So right now, just I would like to show you how do we connect them together. And as you remember, we connect CSS with the link tag, right? And we connect script files with the script. You just need to provide the link for it. So not href, but source. Right? SRC stands for source. Here, just specify the once again a reference to your script document. In our case, it's going to be script.js. Okay? And you can also specify probably. Well, basically, that's it. Okay? So in your script.js, how we can check that our index.html and script.js are actually connected. So let's have a look. And in my console, I would like to log something. So I would like to show a message in my console. And let's say, hello, TS23. So this is going to be a message shown in console. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run it. And you can see our document is pretty much empty. But if we check our console, okay, it shows the message hello TS 203 and 204. So basically now both of our script.js is connected to our index.html. And well, I think that's all I wanted to show you today. So how do you connect it? So the next, we're going to talk about how to select different elements from your HTML document and do some functions on them. Okay, so probably you will have something like A is, well, I'll explain it, but let's say you will choose the button and you will say, and you will provide some actions to your buttons. Okay, but how to do that, we'll talk about this on Friday. So good thing with you is that you understand Java and C++, so it's easy for you. It's going to be easy for you to get. Okay? So your assignment number 3 will be related to calculator. Okay, so you're going to do some basics calculations in math, but it's not going to be as usual. It's not going to be like 2 + 2 or something. There is something else, and I will explain it. So I think that's it for today.